What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. This is episode 6 or 7?
Seven. It's seven.
7. Yeah, so with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. So we pick up immediately after the last episode, in which we see Mekamaru, pretty much in his full healed form, going up against Mahito. Um,
I
it's
was really interested as to how this fight was going to play out, considering that it was really different just seeing a mech in a series like this, trying to, going up against, Mahito, who is essentially, like, I guess, a cursed spirit. So I was kind of interested in how a fight like that was going to go down.
yeah.
But
A,
I wasn't really
a lot.
surprised that. Well, yeah, I was just gonna say there's a lot of, like, I guess you'd say, homages to Evangelion in this episode, with like how I guess like how Mekamaru moves around and like his abilities and all that, and also just the way the cockpit looks too is very similar to Eva Unit 1.
It looks pretty similar, and also like kind of like it has the same feeling as like if people watched what happened during Asuka's fight at the end of Evangelion, it's somewhat similar, like just the overall like design and setting of this whole fight scene. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just like a lot of the animation, like it just goes like to a whole different level with Mekamaru, like doing his best to use his cursed energy to use against Mahito, basically just firing whatever he can against this guy. Um,
Mm.
Despite the amount of instances that he keeps hitting Mahito with everything he has, like destroying his body parts or just splitting him in half or whatever, or crushing him with whatever he has. It's just like, I mean, it's still in vain, like considering like how powerful Mahito is, considering like how many different forms he can take.
Yeah, I mean, especially in that one scene where Mahito's like running away and he takes all these different forms, where he takes like the form of these different animals, but it was really hard to tell what was going on at times. But he just takes all kinds of different forms just to try to evade Mekamaru's attacks.
Yeah, and of course, what what's also interesting is we see Mekamaru is is willing to to defeat Mahito, only just so he can go back to the Jujutsu High uh to meet, not just his friends, but I guess meet Miwa in person for the very first time.
Yeah, they definitely make this a pretty tragic scene, just because of Miwa talking about how she'd like to see or visit Mekamaru. Um, and we kind of already know, like, after her saying that, it's pretty obvious that's like a big death flag. So I already kind of figured that the Mekamaru wasn't going to make it out of this.
Yeah,
Definitely not making it out of this live. And also considering that he knows about this plot, that the Shibuya plot or whatever Geto is planning.
yeah. So like, despite Mekamaru's valiant effort to to go up against Mahito, it pretty much ends up being in vain. Like with Mahito surviving every single attack that Mekamaru throws at him, he uses like one moment to catch Mekamaru off guard and just kill him afterwards.
Yeah, pretty much after he thought he'd won, he defeated Mahito, and then he goes to try to fight. Yeah, I feel like he gets really overconfident at that point, because he tries to go to fight Geto, and that's when he really like lets his guard down and he pretty much gets taken by surprise by Mahito, who's not, of course, he's not dead.
Yeah, yeah, and pretty soon afterwards, of course, we transition several days later. They said on Halloween in Shibuya, and
I
pretty
thought
much
it was
all
kind of
hell.
funny how this all takes place on Halloween, especially seeing all the people wearing all the different costumes. I mean, you'll notice all the references. There's a guy wearing like a Scream mask, and there's some people wearing different costumes, or sort of, I get, sort of references to Western horror movies and stuff.
Yeah, and pretty much things just, well, the shit hits the fan immediately soon after this, with many civilians getting killed, or sucked into some like whatever it is, like it,
Some kind of barrier.
yeah, and of course, like obviously this is the whole the beginning of the whole Shibuya incident, and now like members of Jujutsu High are going to start acting in force with with Gojo leading the charge. So yeah, that's pretty much where that's pretty much the entire episode from what I can tell.
Yeah. I mean, a good majority of it was just the Mechamaru fight with the Mahito, and then sort of setting it, finally kind of setting things up for the Shibuya arc. Um, I thought it was a really good episode. Just this, I mean, I kind of feel like I don't know. I wish they had at least built up Mechamaru's character a little bit more before killing him off the way they did. Because I mean, obviously it's supposed to be this big emotional sort of tragic scene, but I feel like had they maybe developed him a little bit more, it would have his death would have been a little bit more impactful. Kind of like uh oh god, the one guy from season one who died and you weren't really expecting him to die. Uh, they kind of spent some time with his character and especially like what he was going through. So his death really felt like it, and it also the fact that you weren't really expecting him to die. Whereas with Megamaru, like they do kind of try to, uh, do that thing where he wanted to, sort of be with Miwa in a way, but he couldn't. They sort of go a little bit into his character in season one, but he's very much a minor character. So I kind of wish they would have maybe made him a little bit more important to the plot. Just so his death sort of seemed maybe like meant a little bit more. Um, but yeah, aside from that, I thought it was really good. Like all the animation was great. The fight scene itself was good.
Yeah.
And also I really like how they're kind of setting up the Shibuya arc. It seems like there's, of course, you already kind of get the feeling it's going to be a pretty big deal considering this just the whole area, I guess, of Shibuya is sort of just enclosed in this barrier.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean the thing is like the whole Shibuya incident arc, it's gonna span the rest of the season. So there,
yeah,
we're not gonna transition into like some filler arc or whatever, like a prequel arc like they did with the hidden inventory stuff. Shibuya is gonna last the entirety of the season.
yeah. I mean, people who've read the manga say that the Shibuya arc is apparently one of the best arcs they say in manga in general. So I mean, I've heard some pretty high praise from the Shibuya arc. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, considering all the praise that people have about it, to say about it from the manga.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I'm of course expecting a lot of major character deaths or something. There does seem to be some pretty big foreshadowing with some of that too. So. Um, but yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, minor spoilers assuming if they're correct. For people who are fans of Jujutsu Kaisen 0 and looking forward to Yuta appearing sometime soon, it doesn't look like he's going to be appearing in the Shibuya arc. It looks like he's not going to make an appearance until after this arc, unfortunately.
I was kind of thinking that might have been one of the reasons why we got the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie as well, was that he was going to also show up in the Shibuya arc. Um, that I was thinking that might have been one of the reasons. I mean, of course, Jujutsu Kaisen Zero was also a prequel, but just because they did the movie before season two and then they did Hidden Inventory, I was thinking like, yeah, maybe he would show up. But that is unfortunate. He is not going to show up until later.
I
Uh,
think it has more to do about Ghetto's origins than it is,
well, yeah,
more
that
about
yeah.
Yuta because with the whole thing with Ghetto and not just to his appearance in Zero, but also what happened to him during the hidden inventory prequel arc. So it more or less has to do with like building him up of what he about what his role is going to be in the Shibuya arc.
Mhm.
As for Yuta, like I mean, as much as I would love for him to be in Shibuya arc, like based on what I've heard, as of right now, he's not making any appearances until after the Shibuya arc. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe he might make a small cameo by the end of this. I mean, assuming if people remember, there's a post credit scene by Zero, in which
Yeah.
we see Yuta meeting with Gojo for the first time. But I could assume that scene takes place after the events of Shibuya.
Yeah, probably. Um, but yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.